Yeah.
I know you looking,
But
but
I will feel me right now. Yeah. What you
Hey,
say, y'all? What you say?
you are now tuned in with the number
just
one
like
soul
dice the way I'm
brother.
rolling, so I show it. I said the day like I'm heroic, cause I got words like I'm a poet. Just like dice, the way I'm rolling. I got money, so I
I
show
see
it.
y'all. Thank
I
y'all.
said a day like I'm heroic, cause I got
We
words.
here, y'all. Yeah.
What's up? It's your girl Elvis Drug, and when I'm not busy being a
Yeah,
modern day
y'all.
babe, I am locked in with my favorite DJ Rich Beats. Put some respect on it.
Y'all excited for Modern Day
Yeah.
Babe? Y'all ready? Period. As always, DJ Rich Beats is bringing us in the right. Y'all, how you feeling? You already know what it is. Modern Day Babe, y'all. We are here every single Tuesday, okay, at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a newly featured show, and it's the only show on Tag Navigating the Modern Way to Find Your Bae, and the only live stream podcast tackling the challenges of modern day dating and romantic relationships, y'all. So we are excited to be here. My name is Elle. I'm so happy to have you here with me tonight. We are broadcasting season 2, episode 7 of Modern Day Bae. Again, this is a weekly show we do every single Tuesday at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, and it is brought to you by the Sky. So before we get into tonight's discussion, I do have a few bills I gotta pay. I got a few people I gotta, you know what I'm saying, talk about, reach out to, and everything like that. I will let you know, for me personally, obviously you can catch me here on Tuesdays, every Tuesday at 11 p.m. Eastern. You can also catch me on Fridays with Lo on The Brighter Side. The Brighter Side with Lo. I'm her co-host over there. And so that's where you can catch me on a regular basis with content. Also, if you're interested in guest co-hosting The Brighter Side with Lo, reach out to me, reach out to Lo on Instagram, and you know what I mean? Let's try to work that out. Let's try to get you on the show. So, but you got to come correct. That calendar not only tells you what shows are coming up from your favorite streamers, but also allows you to schedule your content to let people know what you have going on in your stream. So make sure you check that out, y'all, okay? Now, I do have just a few special announcements tonight, nothing too crazy. If you want to be on Modern Day Bae, make sure you connect with me on, look at Naraya, make sure you connect with me on Instagram. I will be opening up season 3 signups on September 1st, y'all. So it's coming up. So if you want to be on the show, and I'm telling y'all, it fills up fast, make sure you get with me, okay? Also, if you're interested in sponsoring an episode of Modern Day Bae, please contact me on Instagram. I do have some available sponsorship packages, so tap in with me for that. And also, you can catch us every single Friday. We upload the week's episode that we film here tonight. We upload those on YouTube. It's all linked in my bio, so make sure you tap in on YouTube as well, all right? I'd also like to take this time to thank Tawag CEO, who supplies our Instagram recaps and all the photos from the show. That is our media sponsor. So please tap in with Tawag and see his services as well. Y'all, while you're here and while he's in the box, please fave the hottest DJ on Tag, DJ Rich Beats, my guy right there, okay? While he boxes down, does a little outro, he will be back at the end of the show to take us out. So make sure y'all stay tuned for more Rich Beats, okay? Thank you. If you're just tuning in, welcome to Modern Day Bae with Elle, a weekly show every Tuesday at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, and the only show on Tag navigating the modern way to find your bae. All right, my name is Elle, and Modern Day Bae is brought to you by the Scouts. Hefe, I see you, I see you, I see you. All right, y'all. So I'm really excited for tonight's show. We've got an incredible lineup tonight. I will be bringing up my featured guest co-host in just 1 minute. But while he requests the box, let's talk about tonight's topic. Is toxic masculinity real? Hello? I'm real excited about this one, y'all, because in case you haven't been to my stream or you don't know me, this is something that like I like to go back and forth on. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna do my best to be on my best behavior, but we're also gonna bring you some fire content tonight, all right? So really quickly, let's get into toxic masculinity, right? Toxic masculinity, is an attitude or a set of social guidelines stereotypically associated with manliness that often have a negative impact on men, women, and society in general. The term toxic masculinity, excuse me, isn't meant to imply that the idea of masculinity in itself is inherently bad, but there are things that society does to uphold the toxic characteristics. Okay, so that's what we're talking about tonight, y'all. I'm real excited to get into this because we're going to dive into this topic with our featured guest co-host first. And then we're going to get into my favorite part of the show when we bring up the Boss A panel and have an open forum conversation about tonight's topic. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Mado, I see you. Yeah, we in there. All right, period. So our featured co-host tonight is one of the strongest relationships I've had the pleasure of forming on this app. Although we may disagree on this topic tonight, I'm really looking forward to his perspective and maybe even a little debate. Ladies and gentlemen, please put those swan emojis in the comments while we welcome my co-host, 6'5" Swan. How you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling good.
So I see you, lovely. I see y'all. Tonight we're waiting for our guest co-host to request the box one more time. And as he does, we are just getting into tonight's conversation. Tonight we are talking about toxic masculinity. Is it real? To what extent? How does it affect our relationships? So I'm really looking forward to tonight's conversation. Get through the technical difficulties, okay? And we're about to get started. Now, one of the things I will say is a lot of times when it comes to this topic, and this is the thing that I think that a lot of us get it confused on, because that word toxic is really hot right now. Anytime we pair it with something that's like a full-on like a thing, we have to be careful with how we categorize that, right? Which is one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation. So go ahead and introduce yourself, tell the people who you are and what they can expect if they stop in your stream.
My name is Swan. I'm from Detroit. If you was to come to my stream, I'm just now getting back active, so it's just a lot of love, a lot of positivity right now. What I try to do is, you want to have a conversation about something that you can't say to somebody else, that's the place to have it. You know, it's no judgment over there.
All right, cool. Y'all heard him. So if you need somewhere to go and vent, go ahead. How long have you been streaming on Tag?
Yeah, I used to be really heavy. I used to be really heavy on the app. I've probably been streaming a total about 2 years total, but you know, on and off for the last year.
Do you have any streaming goals that you would currently like the people to support you on, or any events or anything coming up?
To be honest with you, what I'm looking for right now is just a bigger following. I'm just looking for more people to come have a good conversation, have a drink or two, you know, get to know each other. Just looking for like a better vibe over there, that's all.
Are you really 6'5"?
Hey, yo. Yeah, I'm really 6'5", yeah.
Period, y'all, okay? Shout out to Ghost, newest top badge, Ghost Pressure. I see you, Ghost. Shout out to you.
For me to slide in a DM, she gotta just be unique. In this world, there's a lot of copycats, so she gotta be something I haven't like really seen too often. It don't have to be something I haven't seen before, but you got to be something I haven't seen often.
Good answer. Okay. If you're just tuning in, welcome to Modern Day Bae with L. This is a weekly show we do every Tuesday at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, and it is the only show on Tag where we navigate the modern way to find your bae. I am here with Swan 6'5". I said 6'5" Swan. And we're just getting into the conversation. Of course, Modern Day Bae is brought to you by The Scout. And a special shout out to our media sponsor tonight, to WOG CEO. Okay? So, let's get into tonight's topic. We're talking about, is toxic masculinity real? And as y'all, so Swan, my first question for you tonight is, how would you define toxic masculinity?
I would define it as a label that's put on bad habits from just bad people. That it's not really like a real thing. It's just bad habits, to be honest with you. Just bad traits.
Bad traits put on bad people?
I don't want to say put on bad people. It's just that they're bad people. You know what I mean? You can say something is toxic masculinity, but it's coming from a good person. Like, that's not necessarily, one and the two is not the same. I just feel like toxic masculinity is really just a person that's a bad person. It's not really something you can put a label on.
So it sounds like you're saying it's not really tied to masculinity, toxic people or toxic people.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's super interesting. I definitely think that toxic masculinity is real. In your opinion, is toxic masculinity born or raised?
I think both. I think you can definitely have a bad influence in your life that teach you bad habits. And I definitely feel like you can go through some things that you put a wall up, or, you know, you put up a defensive mechanism, and it's been from you being treated bad. You know what I mean? It could be both.
You're kind of throwing me off a little bit, Swan. I'm not gonna lie to you because it's hard for me to. It's hard for me to. You know how like if you play chess with someone and you don't know how to play, you just make any move, and so now they're like, wait, why I never seen that. This is kind of how I feel right now. Because if you're not even acknowledging that toxic masculinity is a thing, I don't understand how it can be raised. Like I don't understand how it can be taught. Like born, yes, because you're just you're born into it. You're a bad person, like you said, right? It's just innate. It's in you. But like, how would it be learned if it's not a real thing?
Okay, so like I said, it's like traits of just bad people, right? So let's just say you got a dad that beat your mom. You know what I mean? And instead of you taking hold of it as, oh, like, you know, I had a father that was beating my mom, you take hold of it as you gotta hit your woman to discipline her. You know what I mean? Instead of you taking it as, wow, like I had a father that was beating my mom, I don't like him, or I don't like it. You can take it as something that you need to do to your woman to discipline her, and a lot of dudes are like that. So I feel like that could be brought into.
So then how does it not exist, right? So like I understand that there are bad people and bad people are bad people. If you learn those behaviors and it turns you and you start to exist in a toxic environment, right? Or even in a toxic masculine environment, then in some way it has to exist.
Right.
It can't just be chalked up to a bad person, because again, and here's the thing, not all bad people are either men. Like there are men and women that are bad people. You know what I mean?
Okay, so fill me on this, right? Toxic masculinity. For some people, you can be with a woman and say, I don't want you to wear that dress tonight. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't think you should wear that. One woman will go, oh, you trying to control me? That's toxic. And then one woman will go, oh, I see what you're saying. This is kind of revealing. Let me change so I don't get a wrong impression. Like it's, the one woman will say that's toxic and one woman will say he protected me. You know what I mean? So it's really just a point of.
I would argue that woman that said he's protecting me, I would argue that she's actually participating in toxic masculinity. Because what does revealing mean? Like if you wear something revealing, nothing should happen to you. And the fact that you have to protect yourself in that, I get protecting yourself, right? But the fact that you have to means that you're in some way safeguarding yourself from what could happen from toxic masculinity. Does that make sense?
I mean, I feel like we live in a world that y'all need protection, that y'all is sick people out here, that you think that just is everything just not sweet. You need somebody to be there for y'all that you just think that, I mean, I don't want to say just you, but a lot of people just think that that you can just move a certain way and you just protect it, but it's not. You go in the wrong neighborhood and you say the wrong thing and you move different, something gonna happen to you. It's the same way for y'all. If y'all going into the wrong environment around the wrong people, something can happen to you.
That's tough. No, I mean, like, I agree, right? I agree. I just don't think that should be the reason why we have to do something. Like, I think that the people that need to take action would not be women, right? We don't need to dress differently to be protected, or we don't need to be we shouldn't need to be with anybody to be protected. The people that are out there being bad should just not do those things, right? So that's kind of where I'm like, why are we the ones changing? Why are we the ones adapting? I understand it's a form of protection. That's important. We need that, right? But in reality, the protection should be that those people aren't able to do that anymore.
I absolutely agree with you, but just like I said, like we should be able to wear whatever color we want in LA, but you can't. In certain places you can't wear blue. In certain places you can't wear red. Like it's just
and those things are tied to toxic masculinity, gang.
I think some things are just tied to like society. You can't just think everything is just sweet. No matter what we want, it's a whole group of people that's bad that don't agree with the rules that we set. They're not going with the rules that we make, and you need somebody to, you know, coincide.
If you're just tuning in, welcome to Modern Day Bae. My name is Elle. I am here with Swan65. Y'all make sure y'all fave him up. He is my guest co-host tonight, and we are talking about toxic masculinity. We're talking about if it's real, how it exists, how it's bred, right? And I have a few more questions. We're obviously going to save some for the baddie panel, or excuse me, for the Best Bae panel. But before we bring them up, what separates toxic masculinity from healthy masculinity?
I say it's for the person that it fits, like whatever relationship or whatever exchange you got with a person. If you accept it, you accept it. Like some women will accept a dude coming over to take the trash out or cut the grass and he's just trying to help out. And some people are gonna be like, don't hold the door open for me. Don't do that. Don't. I don't need you to do nothing for me. I got it. So I guess it just fit for the person that is comfortable for it, to be honest with you.
So of course it depends on the person. I want to know your definition though. What separates toxic masculinity from healthy masculinity, according to Swan?
I don't want to say I don't think it exists, but I'm saying like bad and good habits, like just good and bad people. You got good masculinity, you might accept, like I said, a dude cutting your grass, and then one masculinity, toxic masculinity, you might consider him cussing you. I don't really think it's a thing. I'm sorry, that's hard to define that.
Ooh, okay. So y'all, I'm sorry. Swan, I'm going to ask you one more question before we bring up the Boss Bae panel. I'm going to try to word it a little bit differently because it says toxic masculinity in it. Okay, so the question is, what is the best way to approach toxic masculinity when accused of exhibiting these behaviors?
Wow. I mean, everything got to come from communication and conversation, right? So one, I will figure out what exactly I did that triggered them to make them feel like that. But more so, like I said, it's that going to an opinion. You know what I mean? If I really care about them and you make your partner feel some type of way, then you're going to make the adjustment to change. But if not, if you don't really feel like you did nothing and somebody come to you and say you toxic and you don't agree, then I'm really not going to make the adjustment, to be honest with you. I'm going to kind of stay on my path. It really depends on how much you care about that person. But 9 times out of 10, if you care about them and you even make it to the point where somebody is saying something toxic, it's definitely something to listen to and, you know, take heed of.
Okay, we like that. We like that. Good job, Swan. That was a good answer. That was a good last answer. If you're just tuning in, welcome to Modern Day Bae. My name is Elle. You are locked in. We're about halfway through the show. Actually, a little bit more than. I'm going to bring up the Boss Bae panel now, and we're going to get right into this conversation because obviously it's a good one. It's great to see you and have you. So we're just going to hop right into it because we had kind of a long conversation, Swan and I. So let's just get right into it. Off top, Callie, tell me your thoughts on toxic masculinity.
For one, I think that they just don't even belong in the same sentence. I think if you're toxic, you got underlying issues that you need to go seek help for. Don't even seek a relationship. Masculinity, I just feel like you can't be in the same sentence. If you're toxic, you're not a masculine person. If you're masculine, you're not toxic.
Right off top, toxic masculinity just says it's a super popular thing right now that every man and or woman is trying to get in on because it's popular, but they can't all successfully do. I do feel there's a good toxic and a bad toxic. So
a good toxic.
That's just general first question hearing the term.
Okay. Y'all, it looks like I'm one on my own. I'm a lone soldier today, but that's okay because I'm ready for this fight, and that's okay with me. So the first thing I have to get into, Callie, is what do you have to say for like attitudes?
I mean, yeah, but again, I mean that just the same as words, they only hold as much weight as you allow it to. So just like stereotypes and tradition, for me, I feel like it's whatever you make it, you know what I'm saying? Just like everybody's gonna have their own perspective, everybody's gonna take everything a different way, you know. With time, things evolve. So I just think it is what ultimately what you make it. You know, if you take it personally and you feel like you got to do something to apply it or make changes towards it, then that's your prerogative. That's your perspective. So
I definitely agree with that. I think my personal problem is that can breed harm for people. Shout out to Lolo. I see you. Schmoke. I see you. And that's where I think that toxicity comes into play, right? Because it's actually harmful for other people and it's based in masculine traits. So I do hear what you're saying, though. I'm not opposed to that perspective. Susie, what do you, okay, so you said that it's not, you said you think there's good toxic and bad toxic. Can you give me an example of good toxic masculinity?
Like you said, boys will be boys, men will be men. To me, that can be utilized as a form of good toxic. Only, like I said, because that term right now is gaining popularity in the wrong ways. Also, there's a whole war going on with men being overly feminized, overly emotional. You know, so I feel like the good portion is a man being a man in that way. The thing is when you go overboard or when the woman encounters self-esteem issues, her confidence is dwindling. You know, trust issues arise that don't really need to be. How you're talking to her, your demeanor towards her, like that's more of the toxic or the bad side to that.
My pushback is still boys will be boys or locker room talk that still breeds like that toxicity, that it's okay to do things or it's okay to be a certain way. It's excused because you're a boy. It's excused because boys will be boys.
I feel like women get more of, like we discussed previously, the etiquette. Oh, well, you should sit with your legs crossed, and you shouldn't chew with your mouth open, and you shouldn't burp in public spaces or flatulate because you're human. You know, so I feel like that's more toxic femininity, us being required to be this form or this mold or this ideal woman that exudes femininity and is so sensitive to everybody around her. And, you know, I feel like that's the toxic feminine portion. Counters what the man go through. So it's like, oh, they'll be boys, but you're required to be a woman.
That's interesting. I'm going to table my thoughts because I want to hear from Swan. Swan, what you got going on in your head over there?
To be honest with you, I'm surprised that it's really sound like Callie and Susie agree with what I'm saying. Like, I don't really feel like I need to say anything. They sound like they agree with what I'm saying.
I also believe that toxic femininity exists as a direct response to toxic masculinity, and that you have to engage in toxic masculinity in order to engage in toxic femininity. That's my perspective. Okay. I don't like your face.
Yo,
that's crazy.
I don't like that. I don't like that it gotta be us first. I don't like that.
What world is this? What type of world is this? Who makes the most money? Who has the most power, prestige, and piety?
I gotta be in my masculine energy until a man bring me out of it. Like, if a dude came to y'all and said, I gotta be in my feminine energy until I meet a woman that take me out, y'all would be like, what? But that's right. Okay with, like, that's not a thing. That's true.
But when you meet a good woman, guess what? You naturally get into a softer energy. You feel like, oh, you want to kiss her more. You want to love on her more. You want to protect her. You want to take care of her. You're in a softer space when you meet a good woman, naturally, right? So whenever that's what you are regularly operating in, right? And that's because men are doers. Men are the more logical based gender. So if men are the more logical based gender, and that's the energy, that's the more masculine energy of doing and logic and action, that's the reason why I believe it's a direct response to toxic femininity or toxic masculinity.
I don't think we're responsible for somebody else's energy, how you want to live your life every day. How you like
you're not, but how you treat someone, have you ever heard of the quote, it's not about how I treat you, it's about how you treat me, right?
I feel like being toxic, it's like you don't know how to express your emotions respectfully or in a manner to where it's understood. So if you are toxic, if somebody tells you you're toxic, if you form yourself around toxic people, seek help, okay? Seek growth.
But that's the thing, Callie, do we even really know when that's something that we like? Like Susie here just said that she thinks there's good and bad toxic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because the definition is rooted in, when you think about that term in reference to men, it stems from a family environment. We know that violence is a portion of that, but they also have to be misogynistic, chauvinistic, emotionally unintelligent. You know, it's a lot more negative that goes into toxic masculinity that a woman can trigger. A man cannot be toxic at all. He cannot have those tendencies. He cannot display that. And a woman can trigger that in him. Nagging, being ungrateful, not being supportive. You know, like, that's why I said it's a good and a bad, because it's a back and forth thing. Like, yes, originally that term was rooted from men, on men, in men, but now it's to the point where, like I said, the dynamic have changed. So it's not so much toxic as them trying to prove I actually am a man, and a woman supporting that narrative. You know, so we become toxic ourselves, and sometimes can egg that, bring that trait out of them, and then we get defensive like women do when they operate toxically.
The word trigger stems from trauma. So if you know what your trauma is, then you know what your triggers are. You can communicate effectively. Again, being toxic to me means that you cannot effectively communicate. So triggers, traumas, tie. So I just feel like, again, it holds as much weight as you want it to. So once you know yourself and you find out what your triggers are, what your traumas are, you can effectively communicate that. You can elevate together.
So no one in the box thinks there are toxic traits specific to men and being manly that society excuses.
No, I agree to that. I think there are ones maybe that society excuses just because, hey, this is a man.
Yeah,
Right,
just
but
like it's
what is
stuff,
society? It's what you make.
your circle, like the people that you letting in and out of your household, right?
That's
And
interesting. I think
society,
of the media. I think of ads. I think of the information that we take in on a daily basis. I think of the news. I think of all the things that go into how we think and how we shape our perspectives that we don't even know that we subconsciously take in. That's what I'm thinking about. And so I'm thinking about the former president of the United States saying, "Grab her by the private part, and boys will be boys because it's locker room talk." That's why I specifically use those terms, right? Because those are things we've heard from people with power and prestige, right? And that made detrimental decisions for women. So, I mean, I hear y'all. I really do. It's 11:52. This conversation is heated. I imagine we will have some sort of aftermath. So if y'all want to box back up, that's wonderful. But before we do that, go ahead, Callie. Tell the people who you are. Tell them where they can find you. Thank you so much for your perspective. You know, I love having you here. Make sure y'all fave up Callie.
Callie is Callie 2.0, the one, not the two, not the three. You catch me when you catch me. I be in these streets. It's a vibe. I would say it's a judge-free zone, but they be judging in my life, okay? But I appreciate you, L baby. I'll see you later.
Girl Susie, your favorite corner store host. Make sure y'all hit me with the fave so that you can tune in every Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern for bingo. Okay, it goes down. And Queen Lolo coming to take all y'all money. Okay, this was a great show and we love it. Thank you for having me.
Y'all heard my final thoughts already. I think that toxic masculinity is a very real thing. I think it's a very dangerous thing. I think the more that we make excuses for it, it's going to grow stronger and become more acceptable. I do think it is a clickbait term, right? But it's a clickbait term because it's something that we need to learn about. And there are a lot of other terms, clickbait terms, that we'll be talking about. First of all, I'd like to thank you for being here. I know that you weren't on this app all like that, and I know that you don't do shows like that. So thank you. You did an amazing job. All right, y'all. Rich Beats is back in the box, so you already know what that means. It is time to dip out. This is the show. Thank you for joining us. This has been, like I said, season 2, episode 7 of Modern Day Bae with Elle. Special shout out to tonight's featured co-host, Swan65, and to this week's Boss Bae panelists, Susie B and Callie. I appreciate you ladies so much. Be sure to meet me back here next week with some same place. As always, this has been Modern Day Bae with Elle. I am Elle. It's brought to you by the Scouts, and we will see you next week.